interviewing skills, working on a resume, everything it takes to get a job in today's market. 10% of our time spent on leadership and life skills, and you can see here everything's a very interactive class when it comes to leadership and life skills, but some of the biggest things that I think that we work on is the financial literacy piece, because a lot of students, we actually provide a stipend for them when they meet certain benchmarks. So a young person could end up with $250 in their wallet for getting their NCCER certification, some other advanced things. And we've seen $250 pairs of flip-flops. We've seen $250 of all sorts of things. And so really teaching the importance of using your money wisely, treat yourself to something neat, but always have a budget, learn how to help yourself and your family. And then the other thing we work on is really the advocacy and empowerment. How many times well, you guys may not have seen this, but we see it a lot, is we'll help a young person get a good job, and then 2 weeks later, that job's no longer because they had a disagreement with their boss or they thought they knew a better way to do it. And so we really work on conflict resolution, interpersonal skills for them to be able to handle those job situations. There's plenty of opportunities out there. People are begging for people to work right now. So it's just being able to, handle those situations in the workplace. This is our impact. You can see we're having food baskets here. Last Friday, we did, every month we'll do a food distribution event where we hand out food to nearly 600 families. And it's becoming such a big issue that we're having to get traffic control now from GPD. I mean, a lot of people are, dealing with the economy post-COVID and things like that, but we noticed early on we'd have people lined up at our building at 6:30 in the morning for something that started at 8:30. And so this was a student-driven idea to come up with a way to increase people's access to food and decreasing food deserts. And so we do that one time a month, and that is really neat to see our young people give back to the community in that way. For all the hours that they earn, they actually can earn a scholarship through our AmeriCorps program. So when they're volunteering out there, once they get to 450 hours of volunteer time, they're eligible for a $3,000 scholarship that can be used at any post-secondary institution or trade school. And so that's a great thing for them, and gives them a good step forward once they're ready to go to college. So with the help of the Children's Trust, we started a parenting program. A lot of the students that we serve, sometimes the reason they came to our program is they became young parents and weren't able to complete school. Others, that wasn't the reason they dropped out, but nonetheless, we started seeing some things that we weren't super thrilled with, whether it was, discipline or, prenatal care, all those sorts of things. And we all know that 0 to 3 is a very important time frame for a young baby. And so we started reading initiatives and other certifications that young people can get to be the best parents they can be, to make sure that their young child gets a good start and is on grade level, hopefully by the time they're in first grade. So this is a graduate that's working at UF Health, actually, and you may not be able to see this back there, but this is just a glimpse of what a young person who graduates from Project Youth Build and takes advantage of all we have, all the way from first aid and CPR to OSHA 10, your diploma, some different types of awards, a scholarship. And I always tell people the last one was something we added about 2 years ago, and that's employed. So before you graduate from Project Youth Build, you either need to be employed, have a job offer, be accepted into post-secondary education, or be serving through AmeriCorps or our U.S. Armed Services. And we didn't do that to make it harder for people to graduate. We did that so we could help support them as they get that job. and make sure it's a successful placement for them and that they're able to work for a good employer that is going to provide them with a good work environment and good opportunity. And so our graduation rates up near 90% on that, which is really, that's something we're really proud of. The other thing that we've seen a good return on training and things for young people is that the recidivism rate, some of our students have had interaction with law enforcement when they were younger, and our recidivism rate is less than 6%. So that just means, every student that did have something that went wrong, less than 6% of them are doing that again, which is a huge, huge thing. So this isn't the best picture, and I'm going to get something better, but in 2017, we were able to construct our construction trades lab, and it's really helped us tremendously because one, we have a fully functioning workshop. In Florida, we're fortunate to be able to use that open air to get under, when it's raining often during the summer and do a lot of training. But we're starting to grow and grow and grow and grow. And so what we plan to do with the grant award is to that entire space and create 1,300 square feet of more additional classroom and training space. And this is kind of the impetus behind that. So for every 35 spots that we have, we've had over 100 young people apply for those spots. And it's not really easy to get into our program. It's a 3-step process that involves a lot. So we have a waiting list that's pretty significant. We all know that there's a shortage of building trades professionals, healthcare professionals, and so, we know we're a piece of gravel in the ocean when it comes to that, but we can help fill, positions for local employers and give them a quality workforce. And then we want to continue to expand what we're able to provide as far as training opportunities. There's a lot of IT opportunities that may be out there. There's just a growing demand for all sorts of jobs, and we want to be able to have the space to be able to do that. So what we're going to create is 2 new classrooms and then a large multi-purpose training area. And, this will enable us to do a lot of the things I just mentioned. The other thing is we've really started to develop relationships with employers. We want employers to get to know our students, and so the way we do that is have them, come by regularly. It's good for our students to hear what an employer expects of them. They think that I can go and be late, do this, do that, and so for an employer to be able to tell them what their expectation is from the first week of class, then they know what they need to do to be able to get into that position eventually. So the other cool thing that I always caveat this with is that our students are going to be able to help do the renovations. So they're going to work side by side with trades professionals doing this. And so the class that completes this will kind of leave a legacy for other students that follow behind them, and they'll get framing, electric, plumbing, insulation, drywall, all of it. They'll get a good experience on doing that renovation. So that is all I have for you today. Again, we're just incredibly appreciative because I think Rory was saying that, the grant is for capital projects, and for someone that's worked in the nonprofit sector throughout my professional life, that's a hard thing to come by. A lot of times we get grants to be able to provide additional programs, but at a certain point you run into a problem. Where am I going to be able to offer these programs if I can't increase my capacity? So I'd be glad to answer any questions if there are.
Hey, Jonathan, fantastic work. Just a quick question about the impact of COVID. What were the challenges that you had and how did you overcome them?
It's a really good question. So we used to operate our school schedule a little bit opposite from the standard school schedule because we wanted students to be engaged over the summer when a lot of times young people are getting in trouble. So we'd actually been in class for 1 week when COVID hit and we were mandated to be shut down. And so that was a whole interesting challenge in itself. But post-COVID is what I always want to share with people because we serve a 16 to 24-year-old demographic, and traditionally we'd had kind of even representation within that. And so that works out really well, because we have some students who've actually been out on their own and realize I need to get back and get my high school diploma or I'm not going to be able to get a good job. But what we saw after COVID is we were inundated with 16 and 17-year-olds. And this was basically because they hadn't done any work throughout that COVID period, hadn't had the help at home, maybe didn't even have the technology to do it, that sort of thing. So our first class back after COVID, we had to start going back to the basics of like, keep your hands to yourself, it was a very immature young group. And we've since tweaked our programming, but the other thing that came, I don't share this ever in front of our students and we don't use this to market what we do, but the average reading level, like for the class that we have right now, is between second and third grade. So these are young people that were in high school, most of them at least sophomore, junior, senior, and the math levels are similar. And I think a lot of this is due, they just had a basically, a year and a half, 2-year period where they weren't really working on those skills. Had lots of students who were at home taking care of, all their younger siblings so their parents could work, that sort of thing. So I think we're going to see in the workforce, years from now, we'll look back and get more information on this, but I think we'll see it immediately that we're going to have some challenges because of that. And so that's one thing we're really pushing, a lot more one-to-one work to be able to get students scaled up to where they need to be.
Hey, Jonathan, I've got a question. First, your program just is an amazing one. Of the people who you go out in the community to help with the remodels, how many of those home situations are owned free and clear, or people that are keeping up with their mortgage, but they're just getting behind on the maintenance? And how many of them are in rentals? I'm just curious about that.
So the Department of Labor specifies we actually can't do work on a home that's owned by an individual family through the grant. So we work like we worked with Habitat for Humanity. When they end up owning that home, that's an approved program we can do it through. We've done a lot of work through our AmeriCorps on that side of things. And, with RD and his group at Rebuild Gainesville, that's a huge issue because you have a lot of people, we're located in the Pleasant Street district. And so there's a lot of historical houses and there's a lot of rules around that. We found early on that there's, you have an 85-year-old person who lives in one of these houses who maybe only has Social Security and not even much Social Security because they work off the books or something like that throughout their life. And they just need simple repairs done to be able to stay in their house. So we've gone about doing those repairs through our AmeriCorps program, and they're not quite as significant, but it's really about helping people age in place and be able to do those things. We are looking right now, working with the city on a potential another project that would be with the accessory dwelling units. But again, it would still be a program that they're operating that it isn't owned by an individual.
There we go. So I work with a lot of kids in the foster care program, and 2 of my kids have recently been through your program, so that's been wonderful for them. But I'm wondering, what kind of criteria do you look for when selecting those 35 applicants, and is there anything that's necessary would exclude them or exclude someone from participating?
So real quickly, we do a 3-step process where we have students fill out an application, and it's pretty lengthy. I always tell people you don't fill this out while you're waiting in the lobby. We're going to ask some questions about you, why you're in the situation you're in, those sorts of things. I'm not going to prohibit you if you're not a good writer, but we want to know about you. Then they come in for an interview with a panel of staff and usually 1 to 2 alumni that just do a casual interview. And then they get invited back to a tryout week where we usually have between 85 and 100 young people that are coming for a week in the life of Project Youth Build to see how you're going to fit in, to see how you participate, those sort of things. And then we do a lot of assessments that week to, one, determine if we can serve your educational needs, make sure the mental health needs aren't something that we're not going to be able to serve. The one thing that will exclude you from our program is a violent felony and a sexual offense. And those are 2 things that make a lot of sense, but they're also set by guidelines by our funders. I can tell you we've been able to work with GPD in some instances, like where a young person is in a really weird situation and it looked much worse on paper than when you find out it was a fight with a stepdad that was doing something to his mom or something like that. We really try to find a way to work with young people the best we can, but those are the exclusions. And we have one young man right now is in foster care his whole life, and he's doing incredibly well and getting ready to graduate in May, and we're super excited for him.
A few questions from Zoom, Jonathan. First one from Betsy Riley. Has Project Youth Build heard that Alachua County is planning a Fresh Foods Pathway program? I'd love to connect you. It's in the early planning stages, and I think the food program you've developed would be a great fit for what we're trying to develop, and I have her contact info.
Yeah, we work pretty closely actually with you'd be surprised, we have a lot of young people that actually want to go into agriculture and maybe on a micro level and that sort of thing. So we work with Working Food, the Underground Kitchen, to do a lot of culinary training, but from kind of garden to table for them to be able to see how that process works. We work with the Giving Garden, which is a local nonprofit. We're there every week, and it was actually Meg who founded that program, worked for us for a long period of time. So I think especially in Alachua County, there's a strong sense that we need to have a really good food system and know where our food comes from. And we also have the opportunity to support local farmers. So we do work with that. And, probably over 75 to 80% of our students reported skipping a meal in the last month because they didn't have enough food at home for all their families. So that's something also that's dear and near to our heart, is to make sure that everyone has access to healthy food when they need it.
And one last one up soon. From Helen Warren, do you still have on-site counseling available when needed, as needed?
I know Helen, and hi, Helen. Thank you. We do. One thing we've built into what we do is that we contract with local counselors, licensed mental health counselors. What we did was we created a catalog that basically has the picture and bio of a long list of counselors throughout this community. And when a student has a counseling need, they can look at that and decide who they would like to see. Because what we started seeing was, we had some young men that would want to only see a man as their counselor, or things, it's like a doctor patient relationship. So we get that to them right away. We don't do it on site anymore, just for we're such a small facility, but kind of the stigma that students had by doing that, and other people knowing that they were participating.
If there's no more in the room, I got one more off Zoom. You got Tom? Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I was curious, and you may have mentioned this, how many students a year graduate? And then how long the average student is in the program?
So that's another great question. The model works really well with smaller numbers. So we have about 35 students every 9 months. The average ranges, it depends a lot on how many credits they have when they come in. Our program, where they come every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3:30, is 9 months, but we continue to work with every young person for a year after that. So we have some students that are able to complete everything in the 9 months. And then we have others that, they'll come, we have summer school now, and they can come to that. And then we'll continue working with them until they reach that goal, if it's the high school diploma or one of those certifications. So, but a significant number do it in 9 months, but it's all dependent on, the number of credits they come in with.
Hi, Wilbur Holloway. Just a question. You mentioned ADUs, accessory dwelling units. I was unaware that was still something with the city. What is the scope of that? Do you have any idea?
No, it's very preliminary, but my understanding is that they're looking at doing some sort of demonstration project with the validity and value of having accessory dwelling units for low-income housing. So.
Hi, I'm Dana Nemini. I was curious how your teachers are certified. Do they have to have the same certification as the public schools, or how are they qualified?
Right. So all of our teachers, I'm trying to think right now, have at least a master's degree. Not all of them are in education. We've got incredibly low turnover, and I'm very thankful for that. And people always ask me, what do you look for in an ideal employee? And I say someone, who, one, gets our mission and what we do, someone that's a problem solver, someone that has flexibility. We have forestry masters working with us. We have someone, that is health administration. We have a lot of degrees, and we have a couple of education. The long answer to that is we don't require that because we partner with an online high school as well. So we do a hybrid education model and then a youth endorsed online school. But everyone has at least a college diploma and teaching experience.
Can you hear me? Oh, you can hear me. Jonathan, my name is Bill Stagewoods. If you had volunteer openings, what kind of help are you looking for? See if I'd qualify.
I can already tell. I can tell you do.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I always tell people, and I think one of the things that affects in general, I've talked with my kids. My daughter is a sophomore at UF, my son's a senior at UF. And they always, a lot of programs want you to volunteer and do things, and they would always be hung up on, well, I'm only going to be able to go 2 hours a week or this or that. And I'm like, don't stop doing something because you only have 2 hours. We had an engineer here locally that came in 1 hour a month for a year and worked with a young woman on some math and things. And this young lady graduated, and she wanted to recognize him like in her graduation speech because he'd had such an impact. So, it ranges from tutoring to helping at the farm share distribution events, to if you have some skills in the trades and would want to teach a section on that or even just help. It's really all over the place. We usually, also ask people, what talents would you like to share and that you think would be valuable? But, a lot of times, like my kids, I keep talking about my kids. I love my kids too, but I love all our youth build kids. But when you get a first job, a lot of times it's because your parents maybe knew someone, that's social capital, and a lot of our students don't have that social capital. So anytime we can introduce them to someone who may be able to be a person that takes an interest in them and can, help them with an opportunity, that's good. And that's another thing volunteering helps, is for them to meet all sorts of people from different backgrounds and different livelihoods.
Last question.
Hey, Jonathan, Greg Young. First off, I want to compliment you on your program. I think it's so outstanding, and all the partnerships you have in the community with Alachua Habitat, and also with Rebuilding Together, which are organizations that we partner with our club. Mm-hmm. Also, I want to compliment you on what you do with your staff and with your students. When they come out after the feast, which it's hard to get Rotarians out on a Friday after the feast to clean up the site, you guys have been coming up, as Rory mentioned, since 2017, and your kids are amazing. They are very good. I just want to make sure you're hearing that from Rotarians.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm going to have to give credit to Carrie Tam, who works with us. The first year we cleaned up, she saw like, that's a huge undertaking. And after we finished it up, she said, we should just come back every year and help with this. So I wish I could steal that idea, but Carrie saw that need and came up with a solution with it. Thank you.
Just want to thank Rory and Jonathan for being here, and in honor of you being here today, we will be making a donation to the Bread of the Mighty in honor of your speaking today. Thank you so much. Rory, we have one for you as well. Okay, so we do have a couple minutes, and did we get the video working? Is my understanding? Okay, we're going to try again. That's how you build a strong community, is by identifying the areas of need and addressing them so that everybody can have a better life and a better future. Rotary Club International is a service organization. It was originally That's how you build a strong community, is by identifying the areas of need and addressing them so that everybody can have a better life and a better future. Rotary Club International is a service organization. It was originally founded by a gentleman named Paul Harris in 1905 in Chicago. Originally designed for a way for business leaders to get together and grow their businesses by developing friendships. And so now it has spread. It's a worldwide organization, over 1.4 million members. 46,000 clubs throughout the world.
Rotary Club is a very integral civic organization within the community. The whole motto of Rotary is service above self. And so the beautiful thing about that, you get people from the business community that all get together, think of ways and really collaborate on ways with serving the community.
Gainesville Rotary Club has a long history, so we're over 100 years old as a club. We're also the largest club. We compete with Jacksonville in the state of Florida, but our members are extremely active and extremely giving. I think Gainesville as a community as a whole, even outside of Rotary, is a very giving community, very active with the return of the community and the impact we have.
There's 4 clubs in Gainesville, and we each are a little bit different. Our club is the Tuesday Club, which is the big club, and we meet here at the Cade. There's a Monday night club that meets at the Hyatt. There's a downtown club, which meets on Wednesdays. They're a lunchtime club, and then there's the Thursday Sunrise Club that meets on Thursday mornings. There's a little bit of something for everybody. The 7 areas of focus is health, particularly polio eradication. That's been a forefront of the Rotary Club for quite some time. We also have education, clean water, sanitation and hygiene, peace building, environment, and then growing the local economy.
I love Rotary because of its opportunities to give back to our community, whether it be small local projects, large local projects, or even projects internationally. A lot of brilliant and passionate members that have creative ideas, solve community's needs, and there's always an opportunity to give back.
Within the schools, there's a lot that they do. They do scholarship through the Education Foundation of Alachua County. Our organization provides $630,000 worth of scholarships a year. The oldest running scholarship we have is through the Rotary Club of Gainesville. We had one say this year, my mom is a single mom who works really hard to provide our basic needs. And this scholarship helped our family have to not choose between paying tuition and paying our electric bill. They do something called Undy 500, which is something that school nurses desperately need, is clothing and underwear for students that may not even have that. They do all of those things just to support students.
Safari is a partnership that we have with the Santa Fe Zoo, where the kids get to come and read, learn about the zoo. They go for a zoo tour. The Alachua County school system brings them out for the afternoon, and they all leave with a book that they get to take home.
They also sponsor the science fair. They provide dictionaries to kids. Probably if you add it all together, you could say that they're one of our largest partnerships. Really grateful to the Rotary community in general for helping Alachua County Public Schools and being a part of making the lives of our students and teachers better in every way that they can.
We do all kinds of different service projects throughout Gainesville and throughout the world. Our big international projects are associated with South Sudan, also with an organization called Sustainable Cambodia.
In Cambodia, we've been working for about 20 years. We've led about 100 Rotary clubs around the world that have come with us in that project. We've worked over those years in about 30 different villages, and we do everything from wells, sanitation, latrines, and learning alternative agriculture so they can earn enough money at the market to keep their kids in school. And then we have schools in each of the villages that feed into high school, and then we have scholarships for them to go to Cambodian University. And over the years, we've had 450 to 500 graduates out of our university program in Cambodia. It's absolutely transformational.
We also work with the Rotary Club of Juba in South Sudan to help with the refugee crisis in that area and focusing on maternal health. Even though it started out as business leaders, we do want people in the community to be involved. But obviously, the more involvement that we have, the more good that we can do in the world and in Alachua County.
The club here at Rotary is amazing. We have everybody from people at university, in healthcare, in education, manufacturing, you know, any kind of profession you think about, you find Rotarians, and they're all coming together to serve.
Rotaract is an opportunity for young professionals and college students to get involved in their community. They offer an opportunity to share ideas with community leaders, develop their leadership and professional skills, as well as doing service projects. Rotaract members organize and run their own clubs. They manage their own funds and determine what service projects and activities that they want to do in their community. In Alachua County, we have 3 Rotaract clubs: Santa Fe College, the University of Florida, and Young Professionals, the Rotaract Club of Gainesville. I hope that we continue to get new members into our club, younger members with fresh ideas and how we can engage with our community, share with us needs within our community, new ideas of how to address those needs.
Whether it's gathering and giving as far as gathering supplies for whatever drive we have going on. Obviously, we're always looking for cash donations, but then we also have some of our big events.
One of the biggest events that we do of the year is the Wild Game Feast. We raise over $100,000 for a nonprofit or multiple nonprofits. We also have a social, we call it the Seafood Spectacular. It's typically for Rotarians and friends and family, a nice event that we have during the fall.
Visit. Most of our members usually came as a guest of someone, and they come and visit, and they listen to our speakers, and they hear about our missions and our different events, and they get excited. How can I join? How can I be a part of this group?
Our website is GainesvilleRotary.org, and you can check it out there. There's membership information, or you're welcome to come to a meeting. Our meetings are every Tuesday at 12 o'clock at the Cade Museum. Our website will have our upcoming speakers. It has upcoming events, tell you a little bit about Rotary. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to get to know people. It's a great way to build your businesses and build relationships in the community.
My kids are not big like me, so don't play football.
Thank you. Speaker next week, Donna Lee with the Alzheimer's Association. Our quote of the day is, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much," and that's Helen Keller. Final piece of business is our Rotary Reading Safari number is 478. 478. With that, thank you everybody and have a great day. Meeting is adjourned.